Good afternoon and welcome to the second session of the summer VTC. As you can see from the screen, the second session is Home Automation Security. And the presentation is going to be given by Bill James, Vice President of Operation, Computer Club of Oklahoma and APCUG Director, Region 8. Bill first became involved in PC user groups in 1992 when he joined the Oklahoma PC User Group, now known as the Computer Club of Oklahoma City. He learned more about computers he purchased. He became a member of the club's board of directors since 1998. He was elected president of the club in 2000 and served 2 terms. He is currently on the board of directors, serves as vice president of operation, newsletter editor, and probably a couple other titles, and frequently gives presentations on new software to his club. Bill attended his first APCUG fall conference in 2003. He is past APCUG Region 6 advisor and treasurer and served in the APC board of directors from 2006 to 2009. He is now serving the APC Region 9 advisor. If Bill isn't working on technology, you can find him driving around in his Mustang. He is vice president of and parade coordinator for the Oklahoma Mustang Club. He is also active member of Toastmasters International. He is a current member of the board of directors for the North Care Center, a private nonprofit behavioral social services facility located in Oklahoma City. He retired from the Federal Aviation Commission as supply systems analyst for the FAA logistics systems in Oklahoma City in 2007, where he worked for 38 years. As you can see, Bill is a very busy man and is here going to be talking about home automation security. So we're going to welcome Bill today, and we're going to ask him to start. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. Home automation has really become a hot button, I guess, and I have been interested in it. I've been dabbling with it here at my house, and I have a few devices that I've installed. I have a Google Home, a Logitech hub. I also have some Hue light bulbs. And of course, the concern is security, because these things all connect to the internet, and so you want to try to make them as secure as possible. So the presentation here is some of the research that I have done to try and keep my devices safe. This little cartoon kind of indicates all the different devices and what's possible, what can happen. So our agenda is talking about home networks, home automation, privacy, hackers, smart TVs, and security, about doing your research, securing your router, talking about a few of the home automation's devices and their security, initiative that's going on with Consumer Reports on home automation, selling your home for more money, and of course, we're going to give you some resources. I'm going to try to cover as much of this as possible. So if you have questions, please put them in the comment box, and we'll either answer them here or we will send it information back to you. But in 1999, about 4% of the world's population was online. And Kevin Ashton, a British technology pioneer, coined the term Internet of Things. And we're going to be using that a lot. That's what these little devices are called. And sometimes it's shortened as IoT. So Neil Gosherfield of the MIT Media Lab wrote a book called When Things Start to Think. Neil Gross made a comment when he was speaking to the Business Week. In the next century, the planet Earth will don an electronic skin. It will use the internet as a scaffold to support and transmit its Sensations. The skin is already being stitched together. It consists of millions of embedded electronic measuring devices such as thermostats, pressure gauges, pollution detectors, cameras, microphone, glucose sensors, EKGs, electroencephalographs. All of these will probe and monitor cities and endangered species, the atmosphere, our ships, highways, and fleets of trucks, our conversations, our bodies, and even our dreams. So that's quite a list of things that these little devices will be doing as time goes on. In 2017, Gross was correct. Now it's almost 4 billion of the world's population is connected. An estimated of 8.4 billion are connected. Things are in use worldwide. And here's a chart that shows you who the biggest users are based on population. So, home automation. Are you an early adopter? Are you already using some type of home automation? And are you worried about your home Internet of Things devices listening in on your conversations? There was an article, or at least an issue that came up with the Arkansas police, which they demanded that Amazon turn over information collected from a murder suspect's Echo. Amazon attorney contended that the First Amendment's free speech protection applied to information gathered by that device. And as a result, Amazon wasn't very cooperative. So the police had to jump through several legal hoops before the company will have to jump through several legal hoops before the company can be required to release the data from that device. According to a March 2017 Gartner survey, nearly 2/3 of the consumers are worried about their devices listening to their conversations. So, do you think your devices can be compromised? Your security system, your smart doorbells, video cameras, refrigerators, smart TVs, smart light bulbs. Routers, security cameras, health and fitness apps, cars are sold with vulnerabilities that leave them open to attack. And some of the default processes don't even require you to, or even allow you to change the default username and password. Incidents illustrate the need for consumers to be better educated and more vigilant when it comes to digital security. And these devices do not come with a lot of security features. So if there's anything that's depressing these days is in the early era of the commercial internet is this: privacy is dead, so we just might as well get over it. But if it's not dead quite yet, there are billions upon billions of chips, sensors, and wearables that will complete that operation. Most IoT devices require location services turned on and be functional. That to be functional, they also are in listening mode 24/7. So be forewarned, it's about more than just internet-connected refrigerators. It also represents a move to have even more objects networked and embedded. Sensor-embedded kitchen devices might support precision control cooking in one home, for example, while in another, the same device might be remotely monitoring food consumption of an elderly relative. Different individuals will be able to use the same things and services differently from those around them. Cyber criminals are not always trying to steal your personal or banking information. Sometimes they just want to create havoc. They can use a gadget to disrupt services or shut down websites. The distributed denial of services attacks occur when servers are overwhelmed with more traffic than they can handle. In 2014, the first cyber attack used 100,000 home routers, multimedia devices, televisions, and at least one refrigerator. 25% of the devices hacked were home appliances. 750,000 malicious email were sent out. And in 2016, the dying cyber attack believed to have been executed through a botnet consisting of a large number of internet-connected devices. And those affected services included Amazon.com, Ancestry, BBC, CNN, so forth. So all these companies were affected by that attack. These types of attacks are performed what is called a botnet. Instead of a couple computers being taken over without our knowledge, a botnet can be a number of internet-connected devices. Hackers can control our IoT gadgets to perform large-scale hacks or scams. Your smart refrigerator, your TV, thermostat, and webcams can be affected with malware to create a botnet. Many security researchers have discovered ways to hack into various home automation devices. Some of the ones that are vulnerable is SmartThings, that's made by Samsung, Instant On, Philips, the Ring Video Doorbell. Many companies released new firmware to patch these holes. Always update your devices with the newest patches. So we want to think Windows Update. And in a lot of cases, the updates might be manuals, which will require you to go check if there's any updates are available. And if there are, of course, allow those to run. So what can a hacker do with IoT devices? Well, for instance, smart locks and Wi-Fi cameras, they could allow them to easily break into your house, allow them to see if anyone is home by looking at your video feed. The smart outlets and the thermostats may allow temporary access to your Wi-Fi network where smart outlets are connected, or they could get remote access to the plug and your network. In the instance of your TVs, if your television has a built-in microphone or webcam, TV stores personal information like usernames and passwords for all the services subscribed to. Say, for instance, your Netflix account or your Amazon accounts, those all have passwords because you can use those apps that you have on the TV on your other devices, such as your smartphone, tablet, and that gives vulnerability to those devices. There's something called a red button attack, the on and off remote button, and that can allow a hacker to intercept the sound, picture, and data sent by a broadcast. And also can send content to your TV. So your smart TV needs to be as secure as your computer system. Hackers can get control of the webcam and spy on whatever you're doing in your living room or bedroom. Voyeuristic or just when you're out of the house, potential burglaries. So one of the things that you might want to do is put a Post-it note over your webcam. And some of the things you need to do when you're purchasing your smart devices for your home automation is do some research on the device that you're going to buy. Find out what the capabilities are, learn the various protocols Wi-Fi, IFTTT, Zigbee, and Z-Wave. Those are all interconnecting protocols that allow the devices to talk to one another. Check what the security features are, if any. Also ask if you need a hub to connect all these devices so you can control them from just one tablet or smartphone. Also, see if the company is providing firmware updates so you can tell when the latest firmwares. A lot of times on the box itself, it'll tell you what the version of the firmware and a date. I would say it would be kind of not good if the last time they did an update was in 2013. This is 2017. And then, of course, try to buy items that are made in the USA. I know that's difficult these days, but there are some that are being made here, or at least they are supported here. So one of the things too that you have to think about, that each device should have a secure way of accessing your network. Now, remember, these are going to be behind your firewall, so they will share the same network password and network connection that your other Wi-Fi devices have. But you'll want to disable any unrequired features and services. So if you're not using remote access or monitoring, then you might want to consider turning that off. Malware is infesting a growing number of these devices, and you may be completely unaware of it. So the poor security of them makes them very soft targets. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that your router is going to be the centerpiece of your network design. When we talk about home networks, we generally mean a system composed of at least two devices connected to each other. Usually these devices also connect to the internet. Technically, if you have only one device connected to the internet, it's part of a larger network, but you won't have to have a network of your own. So, security and your router. Most internet devices connect to the internet through Wi-Fi or wired connection via a router. I have one device that actually is connected physically to the router, but the other portion of it, it sends out a Wi-Fi signal where it can be controlled. But like I said, all these devices will share the same user ID and password as your Wi-Fi network you have in your home. So a router has a couple things that it's going to do. It determines where to send information from one device to another. And a router has three separate but related jobs. One is it's going to ensure the information doesn't go where it's not needed. It's going to make sure information securely makes it to the intended destination. It's also going to encrypt the outbound traffic. So when you're setting up your router, you want to find the best position for it. The fastest internet provider and up-to-date hardware doesn't help if the router isn't in the correct place. So place it in the nearest center of your home, not on the floor, desk, table. A shelf is preferable. Do not set it next to a wall because it'll absorb the signal. And don't set it next to other Wi-Fi devices. Because your little gadgets that you have, you want to have coverage so that each one will be able to get a signal. Say, for instance, if you have a smart doorbell that's connected to the Wi-Fi, it needs to be, the router needs to be in a position where it can provide a signal to that doorbell, or else you're going to have extenders to make up the difference. So when you're setting up, you want to adjust the antennas, make sure pointing in the right direction to optimize range and performance. Try positioning them perpendicular to each other, one facing up, another facing out. And of course, update the firmware, no telling how long the device has been in the box. The security of your router, you want to change the SSID and admin login password. You can find the default information on the internet. The default login for D-Link routers vary depending on the model. Most of them can be accessed using a combination of what's in this table. So here we have the various models identified. We have the default name, and there's no password. Same for this. Others might have password of admin for both the default name and the password. But those both, in these cases, they need to be changed to something else that's more secure. Changing the router name, don't use anything that identifies you. If possible, set up a guest network, which are its own SSID and password, if that's possible. Change passwords frequently. No access to shared files or network devices. And of course, activate encryption. WPA is the one that is the preferred. It may show up as WPA2-PSK. And then, of course, activate your router's firewall. A lot of people are using a VPN, and that's a virtual personal network. And it makes a tunnel between your device and the internet through a third-party server. It helps mask your identity. It makes it look like you're in another country, prevents snoops from seeing your internet traffic, like putting a postcard in an envelope. There is a company called PIA, which is located in Denver, Colorado, and they charge $3 a month for this service. We're not endorsing this, but we are providing information to you. And this is some of the things that it provides. It's a secure account, encrypted Wi-Fi, PTP support, OpenVPN, a lot of things that are available, and it's also easy to use. So like the client software is quite Spartan. The minimalist design makes it easy for the non-technical people to use. This is the software that's out of the box when you for your router, while still allowing technophiles access to the inner workings under the Advanced tab. This makes the PIA a great choice for anyone and system admins alike. Lifehacker surveyed its readers in April, asking for opinion or the best VPN provider, and PIA was the winner. So PC Magazine has rated it as being excellent. PC World says private internet access doesn't have a pretty interface, but it's no frills VPN gets the job done in a good price. So as you can see, I went on, and this is the information that was actually exposed. When you go to their website, there's a little box there, and it will actually show you information about your computer. So it showed my IP address, it shows me my internet provider was, where I was located, the browser I was using, the operating system, even the screen resolution of my display. So, home automation devices and security in regards to passwords. Bill Burr wrote the Password Bible in 2003. He worked for the US government. He now admits he was wrong. Guidelines about using numbers, symbols, capital letters have made computers easier to hack. So MERS password advice push users toward lazy and easy to predict practices. So if we're looking at this, experts now believe long passwords that contain a minimum of 4 words are much harder to break than shorter ones with a mixed letter, characters, and numbers. For example, it takes 550 years to crack correct horse battery staple, as opposed to 3 days to crack the password that has a combination of letters and numerics and symbols. And Edward Snowden of WikiLeaks tends to agree, so recommending using passphrases to be more secure. So you might try creating your next password as just being a string of words, such as this: correct horse battery staple. If you need to put a symbol in your string, then insert an @ sign or a dash or something in between one of the letters, one of the words, or a numeric, and that will satisfy those requirements that have to have uppercase, lowercase, numerics, and symbols. So have a different password for each device if that's possible. Now, like I said, for your Wi-Fi devices, they normally have to have the same password and user ID as your Wi-Fi network. So you can't really do that in those cases, but some of the other devices you can. So if you need to give your password to a technician in person or via the telephone, remember to change it after the repair. And if you're getting a new cable modem, change the password. A lot of the cable modems come with a password pre-assigned, usually on the bottom of the device. So you can go into the router and change that to something else. Usually there's a paperwork along with that, and it'll tell you, give you instructions or, pardon me, instructions of how to get into your router, where you can go in and make those changes. Make sure that when you do that, you write it down so that you and put it someplace where, in case it should be forgotten, you can recover it someplace. Because that's not something you're going to be entering all the time. Because most people, once they enter the password for their router, for their Wi-Fi network, the computer or device remembers it. So it's not until you have to replace it or something happens to it that you have to get back to it. So what can you do to stay safe with your IT devices? Use the Shodan Internet of Things scanner. It's the world's first search engine for internet connected devices, and it's free. And it'll show you which of your devices are connected to the internet. Now, also your router will do that as well, but this is another, some software that will do the same thing. So it shows which of your devices are connected to the internet, where they're located, and who's using them. And it's a plugin that's for Chrome or Firefox. So here's a little chart that tells you in a nutshell of kind of a summary of what we've talked about so far. Number one, research capabilities and security features of your devices before you purchase. Keep your router up to date and replace it with a newer model. Use strong passwords for your Wi-Fi network, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or password. Use strong encryption like WPA. Disable unrequired features and services. Disable or protect remote access to your IoT devices when not needed. Use wired connects when possible. Maintain up-to-date antivirus software. Regular check the manufacturer's website for firmware updates for your device. Now, this is something that Consumer Reports is doing to help us be more secure. They're partnering with cyber experts to create a new open source industry standard to make connected device safer. So when a baby monitors, parents can talk to their baby or caregiver when they're away from home. But it was found that this particular baby monitor was using the Police Every Breath You Take as a musical lullaby. And the lyrics were kind of ominous because it said, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you. Well, that's not really too appropriate for a little kid. And so that's something that people are going to be aware of and kind of monitor situations like that. So consumers shouldn't have to constantly play defense when the products aren't engineered with basic privacy and security protections built in. Consumer Reports is launching the first phase of collaborative efforts to create new standards that safeguard consumer security and privacy. They hope industry will use the standard when building and designing digital connected device products. The standard will eventually be used by Consumer Reports and others in developing test protocols to evaluate and rate products. So as a result, we'll be able to make a more informed purchase decision. And one of the things that has been found out that when you're selling your home and you have smart devices as part of the package, that you will reap some of the benefits because homeowners are more interested in homes with smart technology than they are 2 or 5 years ago. So if your home has a Nest Learning thermostat, which is kind of the most favorite, smart doorbell, cameras, smart security, and appliances, that will actually increase the value of your home. So the bottom line is, final thoughts, is that everybody remembers, clap your hands, lamp turns on. Clap them again, the lamp turns off. Magic. That was in 1986. Home automation has come a long way since the humble days of the clapper. There is a lot of choices of different home automation technologies and products, all claiming to be the best home automation system. So the bottom line, make your choices wisely. Are there any questions?
Boy, you breezed right through that.
I guess I did. And also here I could say that the resources for the presentation are included 10 things you must do to make with your new router, 12 ways to secure your Wi-Fi network, are my smart home devices secure, Consumer Reports. All those will be included in the slides, so you can go and take a look at those and get some additional information from what I apparently sped through. I was so nervous because there was like 50 slides. But anyway.
Okay. Well, everybody can sit here and stare at your picture. So, that was taken when he was in 5th grade.
Yes.
I've known Bill a long time.
How much time do we have?
You probably got about another 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So as I said, I'm looking for questions.
Well, let me just go back here.
Out there?
Let me go back here and expand on some things. So I didn't mean to speed through that so that people kind of got lost. One of the things I can tell you about my own experience so far with my home automation devices is, like I told you, I recently just got started. I have a smart doorbell, and it is particularly sensitive to the Wi-Fi. So if the Wi-Fi is not covering that area of my house, of your house, the doorbell won't function properly. So when you're installing it, it's wise to see how far your Wi-Fi is extending from your router. And like I said, if you don't have a good signal for some of the devices that are outside your house, this would also be the case if you're using like wireless webcams. So you can put an extender in an outlet that's near the, in this case for your doorbell, your front hallway, and that would, if you have webcams in the rear of your house, you put it somewhere near your back door. That should provide ample coverage. But one of the things I've found is that there is somewhat of a learning curve. The devices, for the most part, are pretty easy to set up, but getting them to talk to one another is another issue, because when you first get them, you'll have an app for, say, for instance, the lights. You have an app for your doorbell. You have an app for your webcams. You have an app for your thermostat, which means that there's no central control point for all of those. So when we talked about, do you need a hub? I have to find it. That's the whole purpose of having a hub, that it will then integrate all of that into one application. And this hub will then be the central control point for all those devices. So you only have one application with all those devices listed, and you can control each one of them.
Yeah, well, that probably bring up a good point, because we just got a question about the Amazon Echo with Dot and probably attached Google Home. How do they all fit into this setup?
Well, they integrate well because they provide as a central hub for all those devices. Say, for instance, like my Google Home, actually I can control the thermostat, I control the TV, I can control the lights, all from that one application. And I can just use voice recognition to do that. So they work quite well. And one of the things too is that when we talked about some of the protocols, let me get over here. Okay, here, these protocols, the IFTTT, the Zigbee, and Z-Wave, these work all and will all work with a Amazon Echo or a Google Home. And there are applications that, the Google Home or the Echo will see these when you get them installed, and you just add the devices to it. So that allows you to control them. And also there's some built-in security features in your home, your Google Home and your Echo, that will eliminate some of the concern. Because all of these things, remember, are going to be behind your Wi-Fi. I think it's David said your Wi-Fi network, which doesn't, it's not really open to everyone.
So how much trouble do you have watching TV or something and with your Google Home or the Echo going off when you didn't mean it to?
Well, actually, my Google Home is really sitting behind the TV, and the television has never. Of course, I haven't had a program where they said the magic word, but so far I haven't had a problem with that. The problem have had is that if the television is on and I try to give it a command, it won't respond, because what it heard was interference between my voice and the TV. But I haven't had the TV. I haven't had the Google Home do something that I hadn't expected it to do. There are ways to mute that. When we're talking about, if you don't want it listening in all the time, you can mute the microphone, and it will eliminate some of that, but that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Well, I have an issue that I have both a Google Home and a Echo Show here in my office. And if I'm currently reviewing videos or trying to learn more about it, and they say the magic words, it starts, spouting back off each other. So, but I have a security issue.
Okay. Yeah, in answering that question, I've done some research using YouTube, and then if they say, "Okay, Google," well, she didn't hear me.
Mine did.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
Oh, she did come back. She said, "I don't know how to help with that." Yeah, those. Then it will go off, but that's something to be aware of. I guess if you're watching some, I guess it was last year or whatever, there was a commercial on, and the commercial said the magic words, and it sent all the voice recognition devices into action.
Yeah. Well, it comes funny because it said the magic word for the dot is the lady that begins with the letter A. And one day I had one of my clients' name was that name, and I kept saying her name, and she kept saying, "What's that voice in the background?" So,
oh, her name was Alexa?
Yeah, don't stop.
Oh, I did it. I'm sorry.
No, it didn't start it this time, so I didn't hear it right. But any other questions? Did Alan, because it was secure, Alan asked a question about the security of the Echo and Dot. I think you answered that.
Yeah. Those devices are going to be behind your Wi-Fi, and like I said, the thing that I think bothers a lot of people is that you cannot have separate user ID and passwords for those. They all have to be on the same network. So because that allows them to talk to one another. And the other issue, of course, is that the location services have to be turned on, because if you're going to get any kind of directions, it has to know where you're located. So if you have concerns about that, then you may not want to get too involved in home automation. But
yeah,
the security. As for me, I think I'm probably. I mean, I try to be careful, and I'm aware of the security risk, but I don't go into anything trying to lock it down initially. And so far, I haven't had any real problems that I'm aware of. I mean, I haven't been hacked or anything, and I'm a very heavy user of the internet as far as being on it, researching things, going to different websites, so forth. Having my Wi-Fi on all the time, and so far I haven't had any problems.
Okay. This is Diane asked about us naming other products that we like or recommend. I know we don't really recommend, but
here's some of the ones that are pretty common that you can. I can just tell you one. Best Buy is a good place to go if you want to be able to see all the different devices. Now, these right here, Smart Things is a product that has a whole family of gadgets, from plugs that you plug into the wall that you can automate your lamps. And it's called Smart Things. They have a whole family of things, and those are on display at Best Buy. Philips is the one that makes the Philips Hue, which is a smart light bulb, which you can tell. And I really like that because that's one of the first things I would buy if I was going to get into home automation, is getting light bulbs that are smart. are getting plugs that are smart, where you can plug into lamps, and you can light your path before you even get out of your chair. I mean, I've reached an age where I have to be fairly careful about falling, and so I have a dog who tends to want to lay in the middle of the floor, and a lot of times I have tried to walk through the house in the dark. And because you're fumbling for light switches, and rather than doing that, you just try to take your chances and walk through. Well, you can tell if you're sitting in your chair, you can say, in this case, it would be my Google device, turn on the lights in the living room, and the lights come on. And then when I get, I can go to where, when I get to my destination, I can yell. The microphone is pretty sensitive. I can yell from my bedroom, tell them to turn those lights out, and it turns them out. So lights are really a kind of a good deal. But the Ring doorbell, or this, mine is a different brand, but the Ring doorbells is another one that I would invest in, or a smart doorbell. And that's so when people come to your door, you don't have to get up and answer it. It'll pop up on your tablet or your smartphone, and you can converse with them. And you don't even have to be home. You can be in the grocery store, but they won't know where you are. They think that you're that you are in your house, and so you can see who's at the door. You can do whatever business that needs to be taken care of, and without having to get up and actually open the door. So those are things that I would really recommend. I think, David, you have the doorbell and you have the lamps.
No, I don't have the lamps because it said I've got enough cell phones and smart cords that light up at night. So I got night lights. But one thing I would do, I ended up doing some research on getting a smart doorbell. And there are a couple of, big names out there. And what I do is I'd recommend doing a Google search or a Bing search and let them compare, because while the Ring's got a name, Skybell's got a name, and there's another one that's up there. But you need to look at what they do and what they do for you. Because some of them need the wired connection for the doorbell, for example. Others can do it just Wi-Fi. So you need to find out what your system is. Also, you have to check the size of the device, because sometimes they're too big to mount. Depends on the siding and how you got it set up. If they're too big to mount, and you got to go through other mounts.
Yes.
So with the doorbell, even with the doors, you got to make sure that one of the things is I've got I just have an electronic door now that I punch a code in. I don't use the smartphone or anything. But one of the things I had to do was to measure to make sure that everything fit before I went and changed the door, because I didn't want to go drill any holes or anything else like that. And, you need to look, for security cameras, you need to look and see what it does. How well does it look at night? Does it do 360? What do you want it to do? It's some of the things like when you're buying a car or anything else, you want to make sure that it meets your needs, and you're not paying a whole lot for bells and whistles you do not need.
Right. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on all those devices. So if you have one particular device in mind, you can just go to YouTube and put the name of that device, and there are people that have they'll show you how to install it, and they'll also show you all the pitfalls. Everything that you want to know about the device, you can get it from a YouTube video.
Yeah. And
there's several. You don't have to just look at just one. There's several that will be on the same device.
Yeah.
And
again,
go ahead.
I was going to say another again is that one of the things I just said, because I spent a fair amount of time on the doorbell, so I'm going to use that, is that it depends on who you got doing the review and when they did the review as to what it is. Because it said I've had good reviews for the Ring, good reviews for the doorbell, and people don't like them. also. So you got to see what they don't like about it. And, you know, some of them were getting upset because they just couldn't buy it and put it in. They had to do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
So you had to figure out exactly what they were complaining about and did they get it? Because one of them had a problem that, you know, if you read a little bit later down, they solved that problem in a later release. So.
Another device that you might consider getting is the smart thermostats. I have a Nest, which I have. That's the first smart device I purchased, and I have really benefited from that. It has a lot of features that allow it to adjust the temperature based on your use on your activities. It turns itself off when you're away. It can be programmed to come on at a certain time. There's a lot of features that are built into these smart thermostats that you'll get some benefits from that as well.
Okay. Well, as I said, we got about 10 minutes. Let everybody get up and stretch the legs.
Okay.
But I will say one thing for the Google Home. As I said, that Google Home device, they're coming out in the next edition and next update that you can use Google to call any phone number you want. Free.
Yeah, I've been reading that. I've been looking for it. I'm anxious to get that. Also, it's going to be they're going to enable the Bluetooth feature in it as well.
Yeah.
So those are two things that are coming up.
And also, as I said, with the Echo or the Dot, you can make Echo to Echo calls, Echo to Dot calls, anything within the Amazon family. You could send messages or conference. And if you got the Amazon Show, which happens to have video, you can make video calls. And I did that, and the quality is great. So what we're going to do now is turn around, and we're going to let Miss Kathy come up here. She took a, oh, she's still there. We're going to take a break for about 10 minutes, let you stretch your legs, get another cup of coffee or iced tea or whatever it is you're drinking. And we'll be back at the top of the hour with Miss Cassie Jacobs and her medium.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.